Good morning. Welcome back to the homestead. So we're going to be doing a garden tour this morning, but we're also going to be assessing damage. We've got some trees down, snapped off. Got some major storms during the night and this morning. Got my coffee. We're going to walk out here and hope the garden's okay. For the most part, doesn't look too bad. I know we had some really strong winds come through here during the night, and I apologize for the microphone being on my hat. With this collared shirt, it comes all the way up to my neck. There's nowhere else for me to really clip it, so that'll just have to do. But right over there, we lost a redbud tree. Of course, there's branches and limbs down all over the place. There's a huge limb that snapped off here, off of one of the oak trees. Of course, this is inside the goat area. Now, they would have been completely safe because during the storm they were inside their shelter. But they were chowing on that this morning. They appreciate the extra fodder. We've got another smaller tree down there that's snapped off, and it's laying on the ground. Nothing unmanageable. So I saw all of those this morning while I was doing chores, but I haven't gone into the garden yet. So we're gonna go into the garden and just hope everything's okay. There was some hail. There was hail last night. There was hail this morning. Right now we've got some beautiful, beautiful blue skies. Got the moon right over there, if you can see it. So, I don't think the storms are done yet. We're supposed to get some more. We weren't under a tornado watch or anything like that. Just severe thunderstorm warnings. There's been a lot of damage, though. I know Kentucky got slammed. I think it was London, Kentucky, and other places. Just devastating. Absolutely devastating. So in the grand scheme of things, losing, even if I were to lose the whole garden, I'd have it better off than some people. Now, I did just come through this week, just the other day, and trellised, tied up everything that I could. The majority of the tomatoes, a couple of the peppers, I think a sunflower here or there. Not everything yet, though, because, some of the plants aren't big enough to do anything with. So I think most of it will probably be okay, but we'll kind of just do a walk through the garden and check everything out. We usually start up at the top of the garden. We'll start down here at the bottom today. So, down here at the very bottom, I've got my good soil just kind of stacked away there, all of my extras for some things. Actually, I need to plant some things today, hopefully. So I'll be digging into that soil supply. The grapes, my muscadines, are just kind of taken off on this trellis here, this arch. And I've got, this is about 5'4" off the ground, because it's about even with the top of my head. We've got baby grape clusters all over the place. Again, I don't expect to get actually fully mature grapes this year, but if we do, that would be amazing. We've got them on both sides. I planted 2 different varieties of muscadines, just for a little bit of variety. And that's how I did it in Alabama. 2 different varieties. One was bronze, one was purple, and we had a lot of grapes. So this tub right here is just full of flowers, just a variety of flowers that I planted. Some weather-beaten sunflowers right here. And then I planted some bachelor's buttons and some, I think it was Aztec zinnias. There we got some seeds that didn't germinate. I managed to end up out of the ground, so I'm just going to shove those back down in there. Out here in some of the grow bags, I've got some pepper plants. They're not looking too bad. That's going to be bug damage right there. I had some flea beetles already I was dealing with. All right, now the tomato tunnel, that's what I've dubbed this. I figure everything in here would be pretty much good to go. Because I have the shade cloth up there, that's actually going to slow down weather coming out of the air. So things like hail would be slowed down or bounced off. So I figure everything's pretty much protected in here. My little thing got blown and unhooked. I'll have to grab the chair so I can reach that. But yeah, my tomatoes are doing great. So I came in here and I did the string trellis method. Since I have the arches over the top of this, I have a little video clip here that I'll show you where I was working on that. So pretty much every tomato plant in here looks great. I do have one that's kind of laid over, but I'll just wind that back up with the string. It's a little storm beaten, but the stem's not snapped or anything like that, so it should recover just fine. This right here is my biggest comfrey plant, and if you saw my video the other day, I talked about my concern over the lack of bees that I'm seeing. I've grown comfrey for years, and it's always been a bee magnet. Well, there you see it. Nothing. If you missed that video, I'll put a link in the video description down below or in a card up above for you. Alright, so over here we've got the watermelon, we've got some peppers. Everything there's like still really low to the ground. So it can't really catch the wind too much. Got some cosmos here that are getting ready to flower. We've got a zinnia here. This pepper plant's looking good. And this is one that I had topped off, and I thought for sure I'd killed this plant. I talked about that in the last garden tour, but we've got a whole bunch of bushy little growth happening, so it looks like I didn't kill it. I've never done the topping of the pepper plants before, so I did it with just a couple of them this year to kind of experiment. Right down there, that's where I had planted some comfrey babies. Did that on the end of all of the beds over here. Eventually I'll put it on every bed. Let's see. We've got beans flower bed here. Everything's looking good. We do have a couple blown over, but I'll just take some string, and that's why I put this in here as a support to tie off the giant sunflowers, because this one here should be a Mongolian giant, which can get, 8, 10, 12 feet or more tall, and so when you've got something that tall, you kind of need a little bit of support. So that's why I put the trellis in there, so we can tie it off and help it. But all sorts of things in here. I don't even know what all's in here. Marigolds, cosmos, some calendula. But yeah, and of course lots and lots of sunflowers. Over there, that is the compost bed. This is the year of compost for this one. All of the kitchen scraps, all the things are getting thrown into this. Little Miss Willowbean did come out here when I was planting and snagged some of my starts and planted them herself. And as you can see, we've got some beautiful cosmos. I believe this is the Rubenzo or something like that, I forget, that are flowering. We've got I think that's a zucchini plant right there. That's zucchini over there. There's some tomato plants over there. There's some onion scraps from the kitchen that are growing. And then there's some random sunflowers and a zinnia and all that stuff in there. Let's see, we've got peppers over here in these grow bags. This one's got some damage. That's some hail damage right there. That is. And so is that. Kind of tells you which direction it was coming from. But again, the plant itself isn't snapped. It's just some damage to some leaves, so that'll be fine. No worse than getting topped off by my shears, my snippers. Let's see. We got a tomato plant kind of blown over here a little bit. We'll trellis this up a little bit higher up. Give that a little bit better support. But these are all looking good. Again, a little bit of hail damage. Nothing too drastic. We've got the blueberry bed over here. Everything there's looking fine. The delphinium got blown about a bit and lost its petals, but it's fine. We've got some lovely blueberries. I will look forward to these ripening. There's a bunch of them on this plant, and there's just a couple on this one. I don't think these are the same varieties. I think they're a different type of blueberry. Even though I think the tag said they were the same, don't think they actually are, because you look at the color of this one, and you look at the color of that one, and then you look at the color of this one. And this one's a more silvery color, so even the stems are different. So yeah, different kind of blueberry, but that's fine. That is fine. Let's see, we got the little watermelon bed over here. These were the black diamond watermelons. They look fine. Some random Mongolian giant sunflowers. I'm pretty sure that's what I stuck in there, because all the sunflowers. We've got some comfrey over here on the end of this bed. This got planted at the end of the year last year, so that'll get established. This bed here looks fine. The asparagus bed, all of the herbs all around it, those are all good. I'm going to have to get out my weed eater and start trimming around these so this stuff here doesn't go up and take over the bed. I got my butane torch so I can come through here and cut this and finish rolling these out in the walkways, or as much of them as I can. I don't have enough for doing all of the walkways, but I can do as much as I've got. And then later on I'll order some more of that stuff. Alright, so this is my zucchini bed. You may remember from earlier videos, I had planted, I think 4 or 5 zucchinis in here, and they were just struggling. Most of them died. This one and this one were the only ones left. Even the nasturtium was suffering. But I fed the bed, gave it some Garrett juice, some fish emulsion, and everything is just really perking up. That plant's looking phenomenal. I had been going through and snapping off all of the early blossoms just to promote the plant, or encourage it to grow. So that one there, I'll just go ahead and leave that at this point. This one is looking good, and then those are some additional starts that I had picked up at the garden supply store just to replace the ones that were there, because I didn't want to start seeds for zucchini this late. Of course, it probably would have been plenty of time, but that's okay. Alright, we got the beans over here on the trellis. These are the NT half runners. There's some bug damage on the lower leaves. I do think I see some hail as well. but not too awful. Again, as long as the plant itself isn't totally snapped, most of the time plants will recover. It just, you know, at that point it's just cosmetic. All right, down there we've got the elderberries and the lilacs growing. All these little baby plants, they're doing well. This right here is bee balm. It's domestic bee balm, also known as bergamot. I actually was gifted some wild bergamot. I went for a hike with someone the other day and discovered some flowers growing all through her woods. And I'm like, this looks like bee balm. And so I took a photo to identify it, and sure enough, it's a wild bergamot. And I saw her yesterday at Fellowship, and she had dug some up and brought them to me. So I will be planting those, and hopefully I can get some wild bergamot established here. It's excellent for the pollinators, and it's medicinal. What do we have right down here? Oh, look at you. That is a garden friend. That is an assassin bug. We like those. They eat bad bugs, which is just another reason it is not necessary for you to come out here in your garden and bathe it in chemical pesticides because you kill the good bugs along with the bad ones. Lecture over. So this straw bale is one that my son inoculated with mushrooms. He doesn't know if it's going to do anything. It is growing grass or straw, wheat straw. We've got the comfrey that I planted last year, the little baby starts. So all of my loofahs are gone. All but one, right down here. And I was actually thinking about making something to put over it to protect it, to guard it from getting eaten. Oh, I see another one. Okay, good. We've got a late arrival right there. So I'm gonna see if I can't devise something to cover these up to protect them from getting eaten. So maybe we can get some loofahs, although it's already into the second half of May, and that needs a long growing season, so we'll see. That over there is the rampicante squash. I just fed that this week. It was really yellow, really pathetic looking, so it got some fertilizer this week. So hopefully with all of this rain and all of that getting into the soil, that will perk up. Okay, back to the big beds. We've got, that was the last of my little comfrey starts. I'll put a couple more of these here probably at the end of the season or next spring. And then in this bed we've got some dill. I like to plant dill, parsley, and fennel in my garden, not necessarily for me to harvest, but for the butterflies. It brings in the swallowtails, it brings in the monarchs, and you know, you love having those, and they'll pollinate all of the things, but then the caterpillars really only just eat the parsley, the dill, the fennel, and like cilantro if you plant that, which I don't usually plant, but so you sacrifice those herbs for them, and then they help everything else. Having a balance, being friends with nature, God's creation. All right, so this plant is one of those that I am going to definitely struggle with because, you know, I try to prune my tomatoes to be a single stem, particularly because I grow them so close. But sometimes I have a plant that does something like this, and you don't want to cut the main branch. You want to cut the side branches. But when you have a plant like this, which one's the side branch and which one's the main one? Oh gosh, that is why my tomatoes almost always end up being a giant jungle, which is going to be a real challenge out there in the tomato tunnel this year. But I've been, all along, I have been snapping off the suckers, you know, the little side shoots. I've been pinching off all of the early blossoms because you want the plant to get established before it tries to produce anything. But at this point, I figure these plants are pretty decent size, so I'll go ahead and allow them to produce. But you do want to look at the blossoms. See, now this one right here is actually one I'll go ahead and remove, because if you look very carefully, you can see that that's actually two blossoms in one. They are merged together, fused, like Siamese twins. And when you have a blossom like that, what happens is if the tomato grows, you get these funky, weird shaped tomatoes that, you know, are hard to slice. They end up having like a really tough parts inside them. And so if you see a fused blossom like this, it's good to go ahead and remove it. Just keep the normal ones. Now, tomatoes like that are edible, but that hard, weird core is, you know, not very good. And see, we've got a snapped branch right there. Go ahead and remove that. So when I prune things off, I don't always throw them into the compost. A lot of times I will just take what I mulch with, which in this case was old hay. I just kind of pull it to the side, put the trimmings down there on the soil, and cover them back up. I just let those nutrients go right back into the soil where it was growing. We've got some of the beans. These were the Chinese noodle beans. They're getting long enough that they should start climbing the trellis pretty soon, but they're not quite there yet. Over in this bed, I had, you know, a ton of the muncher cucumbers. I went ahead and I thinned out some of them, and I transplanted some over to that bed for that trellis, because the python beans that I planted never showed up. And so rather than wasting all of these cucumber starts, I just transplanted some of them over there. All right, so we've got, oh, I missed this one when I was tying stuff up. I'll need to come back and get this, but thankfully it didn't snap off. This is the Super Sweet 100s, little bitty cherry tomatoes that Mr. Smith loves. Again, lots of tomatoes. Everything's looking fine for the most part. It would be nice if it was a little bit greener, like a darker green. That would make me happy, but everything's growing. Nothing's looking too awful. Of course, here we've got some fennel, again, for the butterflies, the pollinators. This is one of my Egyptian walking onions. You can see it's going to flower. So this will get really big and heavy. These little baby onions will get bigger, and then it'll fall over and it'll start a whole new set. And that's why they call them walking onions. We've got my Tulsi basil down here. We're going to snap off all those blossoms and encourage that to grow more. So you want your basils to keep on growing leaves. So anytime you see the flowers starting, just snap them off. It's not going to hurt anything. It's just going to encourage the plant to grow more. All right, we've got some more fennel there. And then we've got some more little baby tomato plants. These went in a lot later than the others. Some parsley down there, some Italian basil in here. Over on this side, again, more tomatoes. We had already looked at the other side of this bed. More tomato plants. I'm not seeing too much hail damage over here, which is good. Now there is some right here in this flower, and I don't even remember what that is. I think it was a dahlia. I don't remember. I planted the bulbs a long time ago. Let's see. Over here, another flower, dahlia, I think. More tomato plants. Oh, I missed that one when I was tying them up, so I'll have to come out here and get that one. But again, as long as it's not snapped off, it'll recover. This right here is the painted lady beans, runner beans that I planted. Oh, we've got a late arrival right there, it looks like. Over on this side, again, I'm going to have to weed eat here pretty soon, which is what I hate to do. There's outside tasks that I love, there's outside tasks that I hate, and I hate weed eating. That is one of the reasons I put this stuff down. So these are the cucumbers that I just transplanted the other day, so they're going to go through a bit of a shock, and then hopefully they'll recover and take off up the trellis. And then we've got more peppers over here. Again, these are two that I had topped off. Oh, we're seeing little flowers forming. We don't want those, not quite yet. Not quite yet. You need to be a little more patient, Mr. Pepper. Some more Tulsi basil. Snap off those flowers. Y'all, if you have never smelled Tulsi basil, you should grow it just for how good it smells. I mean, in my garden in Alabama, I had it in the raised beds out front, and I liked to hand water my raised beds there because they were so tall and everything, and just the water hitting the plants made the fragrance just float through the air, and it smelled so good. Okay, my pineapple sage. Now this is that sage that I said had started flowering, which was very, very unusual. I did go ahead and pinch off those few little flowers that I saw. And it was interesting to me because I had several other people say that they had sages flowering either for the first time or much, much earlier than normal. Makes me wonder why, you know? The onion, so I started coming out here the other day and pulling the soil away from the onion bulbs. I got interrupted, so I didn't get them all done, as you can see. But this one's looking pretty good. Like, it looks like it's going to be an onion. Hopefully I didn't pull away too much soil with some of these, but yeah, I'm determined. I'm determined to get some onions one of these days. Oh, what do we have here? Oh, this was some salvia. It had beautiful purple flowers on it, but I think that this will produce again throughout the year. I don't remember. It's been a while since I planted salvia. And then over here, again, more tomatoes, lots of tomatoes. My calendula is looking a little beat up. We've got some, maybe a little bit of hail damage on these. I think this is mostly just from the wind, just blowing them over. But not too bad. I'm grateful. It could have been much worse. Oh, hello, pea. I missed you the other day when I was out here harvesting, didn't I? I like to pick these when they're still flat, before the peas really form. When they're sweet and tender, like this right here. Ooh, we've got a whole bunch of them, don't we? Alright, and then down there, some more baby comfrey. And then this is the pea trellis currently. And I determined that some of my peas got mixed up. I think I had a bag come open and picked up the peas and put them in a seed bag that I thought they went in, but it was the wrong bag, because I've got two different kinds of peas growing here. So I believe what I have are the magnolia tendril peas, but then I think we may also have the purple tendril peas, because I have some purple peas, if you can see those. I've got some purple ones, which are fine. These are yummy also. But I know I only brought one pea package out here. So we've just got a little bit of variety that we weren't expecting. And look at all these peas. Oh my goodness. Oops, I dropped one. I'm gonna have to come out here and harvest all of these and maybe do a little stir fry this evening and throw these in there. All right, and then over here we've got my echinacea, and hello, assassin bug. Again, a friend to the garden. But the echinacea is getting ready to flower, as you can see right there and right there. So all of these stalks are producing buds, you want to call it that. And then this is my butterfly bush that I planted, again, to bring in the pollinators. And that is pretty much it, y'all. That's the walk through the whole garden. Not really much damage to even make note of. And for that I'm very thankful. I was laying in bed listening to the hail in the dark and just really thinking of Sow the Land. They had just put in their great big garden and had a massive hailstorm, and just, it devastated it. And so I was thinking of them as I was listening to the hail this morning and last night in the dark, and thinking, man, I hope the garden's okay. Alright, y'all, so that is this week's walk through the garden. Going forward, my garden tours will be going up on Mondays starting next week, because my regular video schedule now is Sunday, Wednesday, Friday. And so because the garden tours are kind of an extra video, I don't want that to take up the regular day for a video. And so I'll be posting those in the future, like I said, on Mondays. In addition to this video this week, tomorrow I have a breakfast slash brunch recipe that I'll be posting video. Little Miss Bean was helping me cook. And then I will also have a video going up that is definitely not one that I normally make. But I have so many people reaching out to me, sending me emails and private messages saying that they want to move to Arkansas, but they can't find properties. Do you know of any places for sale? And it just so happens I know 3 properties that are either on the market or about to be on the market. And so I am doing a video. I went to each of these properties and did a little mini tour of them. And so I'm going to be sharing that with y'all. If you know somebody who's wanting to move to Arkansas, or if they're in Arkansas and they're looking for something else. I'm not a realtor. These are not my properties, but again, I know the people who are selling them. And so I'm going to share the properties, and I will put the contact information for them in that video description. So if you watch that video and you see something you're interested in, don't reach out to me. Reach out to them. So, and then later this week, of course, there'll be a couple of other videos going up, including a canning video that I'm excited to share with y'all. So that is it for today, friends. Thanks for joining me out here for another garden tour. Please be in prayer for all of those who have been so horribly affected by these terrible storms this year. Kentucky, Ohio, I think. There's so many storms. It's that time of year, and then some. So just keep them in your prayers and stay safe. And with that, God bless, and I will talk to y'all next time.